Hi everyone, I'm Cynthia Treen, and welcome to my channel. Today we'll be making this crescent moon lantern. Use it as a holiday tree topper, a nightlight, or for brightening dark winter days. I hope you'll enjoy creating and sharing its comforting glow. You'll need a 30 bulb strand of battery-powered LEDs to make the lantern. I like this style with its small flat battery pack. Mine came with two CR2025 watch batteries, which can be replaced for extended use. If you use one with a larger battery pack, you can hide it in the branches of your tree. Before cutting, I like to print the pattern on freezer paper, then cut the pieces and iron them to the felt. Having the pattern completely adhered is extra helpful when cutting the narrow points of the crescent moon. Here you can see I've made marking holes to help me place the moon and star. To avoid shifting, I've basted the crescent using my pencil marks as a guide for its placement. Next, I'll applique the moon with a single strand of floss and an edge-to-surface whip stitch. This stitch is made in 2 passes, from back to front, catching the edge of the crescent, then from front to back, skimming its edge and passing through the surface fabric to the back of the work. Next, use a 3-strand length of floss to make a running stitch around the circumference of the circle. Make the stitches close to the edge and small, so the gathers will also be small. Large stitches will make the gathering harder to disguise when you stuff the shape. To match my original, I measured the hole size that I left. It was 1 3/8 inch across, so I did the same here before tying off my thread. It looks like I went a bit overboard on my tying off, but you do want yours to be well secured because we'll stuff this shape firmly. To stuff, you can begin with your fingers, tucking the fiber under the gathered edges. Eventually, you'll need to switch to a bamboo skewer or stuffing fork for a filling tool. If the stuffing feels like it's puffing out, you can use a felting needle to compress it a bit. I decided to fill out the sides a bit more to smooth them and reduce the visible gathers. If you happen to have a kitchen scale, mine weighed 13.3 grams when I was finished stuffing. Sometimes after a lot of handling, it's nice to smooth the surface with a hot iron. Next, I folded the LED wire into a zigzag starburst pattern and wrapped it in sections with embroidery floss. As I worked, wonder clips kept the wire ahead organized. I bent the wire using needle nose pliers just before each light to make a peak. Then halfway between them, bent again to make a valley and matched the lights. With this folding technique, the LED tips of the starburst will create a halo around our lantern. My floss was cut into 1 meter lengths for wrapping, and I used 2 strands to wrap each section. Before wrapping, apply a bit of white glue just below each light. This will secure the floss wraps, keeping them from slipping down the smooth wire. To wrap, lay the floss parallel to the wire section, with the tail extending several inches below the folded valley. The thread tail will later be used to tie off. Pinch thread and wire just below the LED and wrap tightly over the glue, wire, and thread tail. Butt each wrap to the one before, covering the wire completely with a smooth layer of thread. This wrapping action will cause the thread to twist, so every few wraps, take time to unwind and spin out the twist with your fingers. As I was filming this, I meticulously wrapped down as far as I could go, leaving very little exposed wire between the sections. But as it turned out, my resulting halo was too small to fit around the circumference of the stuffed centerpiece. Looking back at my original, I realized I needed to leave about 1 centimeter of exposed wire at the base of each valley. That gave me flexibility to grow or shrink the length of the halo as necessary when I later attached it to the stuffed centerpiece. When your wraps reach the base of the valley, making sure to leave 1 centimeter of exposed wire there, bring the wrapping thread from back to front, locking it between the wire at the base of the wraps. Then tie off with a square knot, tying right strand over left and left strand over right. It looks like I decided to add a second knot for good measure before trimming my threads. The wire was cut on my LED strand just beyond the last light, so I added additional wire to strengthen the section before wrapping. I placed a dab of Zap gel glue on the back of the LED, then tucked wire beneath it and folded down the LED before wrapping the final section. Now let's look at the 2 starburst strands I made. Here's the short one with about 5 millimeters of exposed wire at the base of each valley. It fits around the gathered hole on the back side, but can't stretch much beyond that. Now here's the second one I made with 1 centimeter of exposed wire between each section. It's long enough to wrap around the circumference, and that's just right for our lantern. Attached to the sides, the fingers of the halo are long enough to light the front of the piece, even in a dark room. If you have a shorter light strand, or you made one that turned out small as I have, try reducing the pattern center for a better fit. If you have glitter paper, you can cut your star from that. I only had gold, but I wanted my star to be silver. So I glued and glittered the back side of this printout behind the star. Once it was dry, I cut out the star and glued it over my pencil marking. Then I added a bit of thread as though the star was hanging from the crescent moon. To attach the starburst halo, I first held it in place with tiny rainbow loom elastics. Then, using a long darner, I whip stitched the valleys of the halo to the center. Then, with the help of another elastic, I made some adjustments to the fingers of the halo, separating them evenly. Up about 1/4 inch, I backstitched to stabilize the connection. Don't worry too much about your stitches here, just use matching thread. This connection will soon be hidden with a 1/2 inch strip of felt. I'll be using some clear elastic to hold the battery pack in place. I've cut a length to span the back of the piece and double knotted either end. Other elastic can be used, but this is what I had on hand. I'll also be hiding the battery pack itself after I finish up some details on the back. Like these circles here. I cut these about the size of the hole, and I'll just whip stitch around them to hide that space. This piece is 1/2 inch by 8¼ inches, and that will wrap around and get stitched on to disguise the connection of our wire. If you found the same battery pack size as I have, you can use the little pocket included in the pattern and whip stitch around it and tuck that right under your elastic. I also wanted to show you that I added a little hanging elastic as well, and that will hold your little piece hanging on the wall. Now the final thing to do here is just to organize the starburst. And so what I did was separate every other one and make some kind of fall to the back and some curve around to the front. But you can fiddle around with this and figure out how you like the starburst to look on your piece. Okay folks, that's it for today. Stay tuned for more felt stitching techniques and tutorials. If you like this video, you know what to do and how to follow. If you'd like to visit my Etsy shop, join my Patreon group, or support my tutorials with a one-time tip on Buy Me a Coffee, you'll find links to those and all my socials in the post via my Linktree. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, happy stitching!